The constitutional order was a containment vessel. Because the founders distrusted human ambition, they constructed a cage to keep delegated power under strict restraint. This title page of the Federalist represents the structural logic of that design. Authority was divided between branches to make the consolidation of power difficult, prioritizing the prevention of arbitrary rule over administrative convenience. The government did not destroy this constitutional cage. It preserved the visible shell, the branches, the elections, and the legal language, maintaining them as the primary evidence that the original order remained intact. Beneath that shell, a second structure was constructed. This administrative layer builds itself inside the walls of the constitutional cage, functioning through its own internal institutional logic rather than the original mechanics of the Republic. This transformation superseded the system of restrained delegation, replacing it with an order organized around its own institutional continuity. The calligraphic "We the People" defines the constitutional baseline. The state is the people in their sovereign political capacity, while the government is merely the delegated instrument they constituted. Under this hierarchy, government possesses no inherent powers. It acts as a fiduciary, receiving only the authority specifically delegated to it to secure pre-existing natural rights. The administrative state relies on a linguistic fraud. Government collapses itself into the title of the state. By doing so, it claims the incidence of sovereignty, like immunity and presumptive jurisdiction, that belong only to the people. This title page for common sense records the consequence of that shift. When the agent impersonates the principal and assumes power without delegation, it crosses the line from trust into usurpation. Erasing the distinction between the sovereign state and the delegated government removes the anchor of the constitutional cage, allowing for expansion without a lawful source of title. Every public act eventually answers to a single jurisdictional choice. Either law governs power or power governs law. This is the binary anchor of our system. This divergence illustrates the first inversion, when government shifts from protecting natural rights to managing social outcomes. Liberty becomes a managed variable. Rights become permissions balanced against institutional objectives. Authority is no longer measured by lawful delegation, but by the desired target result. This inversion is the prerequisite for the administrative state, turning bounded trustees into unbounded managers. Once government redefined its purpose, it required a new philosophical theory of legitimacy to justify its lack of constitutional warrant. The original test required lawful delegation. The administrative test replaces that with utility, measuring power by expertise. The bureaucracy claims technical competence, accepting it as a substitute for actual jurisdiction. Necessity mutates too, becoming an independent source to generate brand new powers. Within this framework, constitutional restraint is no longer seen as a safeguard. It is framed as an inefficiency that obstructs the work of expert administration. By replacing authority with utility, the system acquires a logic without a natural limiting principle. Power expands based on the scale of the social needs it identifies. This logic operates through the mechanism of circularity. This is the repeatable method by which power enlarges itself, normalizes that enlargement, and uses the results to prove its necessity. Phase 1 identifies a condition where authority is deemed insufficient. In Phase 2, power expands beyond its jurisdiction. Phase 3 creates new dependencies. Finally, these dependencies ratify the expanded power. The loop repeats. Circularity shifts the argument from the point of lawful origin to the point of structural dependency. It converts unauthorized usurpation into a practical necessity. Circularity also expands through a Hegelian mechanism of crisis and reaction. In this pattern, initial interventions predictably generate systemic disorder. This disorder is then framed to the public as a brand new crisis requiring immediate attention. Instead of discrediting the initial intervention, the resulting chaos is used to justify an even larger expansion of administrative power as the only solution. Crisis environments are advantageous because they compress time. They displace questions of lawful authority with urgent demands for immediate action. Under this mechanism, failure is weaponized. Chronic institutional dysfunction becomes the primary argument for increased funding, for more centralization, and further insulation from external limits. Modern legal professionals defend the administrative state through 5 excuses: complexity, obsolescence, necessity, custom, and irreversibility. These arguments share a structural defect. They each begin by presuming the legitimacy of powers that were never granted, reasoning backward from the consequence to the authority. The claims of complexity and irreversibility merely describe the dependency created by the government's prior unauthorized expansion. Constitutional government recognizes no principle where unlawful power matures into lawful title through long duration or continuous usage. A self-created institutional dependency is not the same as a lawful delegation of power from the sovereign people. In the modern American legal system, the purpose of government has moved away from its founding mandate. The system no longer organizes itself to secure the pre-existing rights of the people. It organizes itself to secure its own continuity and power. The visible forms of the republic, elections, courts, and statutes, remain, but are reduced to a decorative perimeter for the administrative machinery pulsing inside. Circularity has succeeded not by denying the Constitution, but by displacing it in daily operation. The American system is a constitutional shell occupied by a self-ratifying administrative order.